folks. Thanks for joining me today. So, here we are on day 7. Oh my gosh, day 7. I hope everybody is all ready for Christmas. I am not. So, I will be doing some splurge shopping very shortly. But I'm all excited. So this is another tutorial that I am trying some kind of a different type of technique for the background. Um, so what I did was I painted it on with a light tan color brown, and then I added this really light, I think it's called Rosette pink, and using my blending brush and just putting on these little circles and then using my finger dauber to sponge them all out, but not enough to blend them, just so that you can still kind of see them. And you can. So it turned out really cool. I wanted it to look kind of like, when Christmas lights in the background are kind of blurred out. That's the look that I was going for. So maybe I should have used different colors to get that effect for the Christmas lights, but this is what I ended up with, and I was really happy with it. Maybe I will try something different with using the different colors to see if I can get that effect, but this is what I came up with for this one. Now, we're painting a Santa's elf, and we're going to call him the head elf because he's dressed the same as Santa. So the colors that I used in this tutorial are listed in the description below, but they're very basic. So I used the reds, I used the greens, and then just some flesh tone color for his face. But it's very, very easy to do. So that's what I'm doing. So I used my General's charcoal pencil after everything was dry. I did not put any kind of a special coat on, any glitter paint or anything like that. So I just let my base coat dry for the background, and then I drew with my General's charcoal pencil the outline or the sketch for this cute little elf that we're going to be doing today. So I sponged on his face all of the that flesh tone color, and now I'm adding that same Rosetta pink that I used on the background onto his face, and using a very small blending brush so that I can get those shadows put into his face and onto his ear there. I did include one ear. Now, this elf is going to be a singing elf. So he's in mid note, and he turned out so cute. Like, I'm so impressed with this. So, yeah, once I get that his face done, I let him dry, but I move on to doing his, I don't know what you would call it, his shirt, his jacket, his dress, I don't know, pajamas, I'm not really sure. But I painted on, and I go around his little belt, and I'm using, I think it's bright red, but again, all of the colors and the brand names are listed in the description below. And yeah, I'm just putting all of these colors on. Well, right now it's just the red, but to fill in the colors that where I want them to be. So I do this with the bright red. I do this on his hat as well. And I believe I do 2 coats because red is actually a very hard color to really get the true color of the red. So I find that sometimes 2 coats is what I need to do that. So, and I really want the fuzz on the hat and around the cuffs of his sleeves to be fuzzy. So you'll see what we do for getting that. But so anyways, I get that done, let it dry, and I go in and I start painting his belt. Now it's going to be black and gold, and then I do something kind of last minute. I totally didn't plan, but you'll see that at the end. I'm going to leave that as a little secret. Maybe you can try and figure it out. Um, if you did figure it out before you saw what I did, then leave me a comment below because I'd love to hear from you guys if you were able to pick up on it. And once I got the paint down on the actual, I guess within my sketch there, I found that his belt buckle was too big. So I only painted a little bit of the black and then I filled the rest in with the red color just to make the proportion sizes correct to the actual elf. Um, so then I go in and I do his nose, and again, I'm using that peach color, not peach, it's rosette. And I just added a little bit of white just to soften it a bit. And then I outlined it with the true color right out of the bottle and made his nose. So now I'm coming in with the green. And so his little mittens are going to be green, his little shoes are going to be green, and um, he really, I guess the green is what separates him from Santa because he's an actual elf rather than Santa. So he's Santa's right hand man. He's the go to elf, he's the first in command. Um, Whatever you want to call him, head elf. That's who this guy is. I don't have a name for him. So I don't know if there is an official name for the head elf or if it can be like Bob or Joe. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think his name is or if there is an actual name for the head elf. I'm really curious to know that. So I give him these great big boots that are clunky kind of looking, and I can't imagine ever trying to walk in something like these, but apparently the elves have mastered it, so that's what we're doing. We're going to give them these great big clumpy looking elf shoes that yeah, they look comfortable as slippers, but not to walk or work in. But anyways, he's an elf, so this is what they wear. Anyways, so I get his shoes all done, and now I'm going to do the fuzzy parts on his hat and on the cuffs of his sleeves there. So all I'm doing is I'm using, this is titanium white that I'm using, and I just loaded up my medium-sized blending brush and I just basically tapped it on. I had no rhyme or reason. I wasn't following any lines, and I let the bristles kind of swoosh over into the red to give it that fuzzy look. Now I do go through and outline everything in black, so I do lose a little bit of that, but not a lot. So um, you'll see, just keep watching. So here I am, I'm just fixing up his belt there, putting the gold on and really making it like a rectangle shape and smoothing it out because the gold paint is rather thick. I believe it's glorious gold that I'm using, but it is rather thick. So I just sort of smooth it out with my paintbrush and just putting the fuzzies there on his sleeves. And yeah, he's starting to really come together and starting to really look like an elf. Let me know what you think. Give me that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit that bell because it'll send you a notification every time I post something new. So before I move on to doing the details in his face, I thought I better outline everything. So you'll see that when I'm doing those fuzzies around his arms, I'm just doing little swoops so that it still keeps it looking like it's fuzzy, but I do lose a little bit of that, like when the bristles go, like the stray bristles go off the side. So I do lose a little bit of that, but that's okay because it still looks fuzzy when I do it with the little swoops with the black paint. So I just continue on doing all of the outline of his jacket and or pajamas or whatever they are because they go right to his ankles. But anyways, so I continue doing these little swoops there. and I outline everything. And I'm just using my fine lining brush. I'm using some black paint with a little bit of water in it just so that I can drag the paint further and it glides a lot easier and you don't end up with these big clumps or uh, big spots, I guess, of that particular color. It's just one of my tricks that I like to do, and I'm just passing it on to you. If you have another way of doing it that works better for you, then you do that. You do whatever you want that works best for you. Like, this is what works best for me, so that's why I do it. So onto his little boots there. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but uh, a lot of their boots have like a fold down, and they're all kind of like, I don't know. They, to me, they resemble something of like a holly leaf, and maybe that's intentional. I don't know. But so that's what I did on the tops of his little boots there. I just did something that resembled sort of like a holly leaf, so it looks like the tops are folded down. Um, you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you wish. I just thought that, you know, I remember like elf costumes and things like that, that's part of their boots. They have a fold down that looks like a holly leaf. So I put it in mine. Now you'll notice too that I also put a black line down the middle of his coat so that you now know where it buttons up or zips up or whatever mechanism elves use on their coats, pajamas, long shirts, whatever. So now I'm just going in and I'm outlining the hat. So I'm doing the little swoops around on the hat. And all I'm doing is I'm basically letting the black line start in the white and then bringing it up slightly into the red and then looping back up into the white. So I do that on both sides, top and bottom. It's almost like how we used to draw clouds when we were younger. So it's the same kind of concept. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if you painted clouds like that when you were younger, but it's how I painted clouds when I was younger. So that's what I'm doing. So you do what you know, right? You continue on, you use your own tips and tricks that you've learned over the duration of your painting career or whatever it is. You just go with what works for you, and that's how you learn. And if there's anything that I'm teaching you that maybe makes it a little bit easier for you, then hey, I've done something great. And you've learned something great. And then, you know, everybody's great. I'm sorry, guys. I guess I'm a little giddy because Christmas is getting closer. We're like one day closer from yesterday. So, anyway, so now I'm going to put on his mouth. And like I said, he's like a little singing elf. So he's got his mouth wide open to get those notes out so he can hit those, maybe those high notes. And he's just singing away. And I got to put on his little sort of laugh lines, and then I curl up his lips a little bit, or I guess the edges of his mouth, just to give him a little bit more of a cheerful look. And when you're singing and you have your mouth open this wide, what do you see? You see his mouth. Sorry, you see his tongue. So we've got to put a tongue in there. So that's what I'm doing right now. And all I do is sort of like a little heart shape. So I have two little bumps at the back and I bring it down to the edge of his mouth so I don't quite see the tip of the heart. But I leave a little line of black in between the two humps. And here's the surprise. So he's the head elf, so he has to be identified as that. So I write on his belt buckle, Elf 1. Isn't that awesome? So then once that's done and he's dry, coat of resin, and he's done. So remember, folks, life is what you make it. So get creative.